with this. Hola, hola, buenas noches. I hope you're all having a great evening. Welcome to the Met. Bienvenidos al Met. My name is Marty Preciado. I have the honor of leading the Community Partnerships and Initiatives team here at the Met. And what that means is that we create these opportunities, whether they are in English o en español. Hoy van a tener un programa muy especial porque es en Spanglish. What that means is that we're going to go in and out of English. Is it going to be messy? Yes, but you know what? That's what our communities are. We're not fully in one language, we're not fully in the other language. And we really strive to be able to assimilate at times and to be able to belong. But this is also the part in the middle, we also belong. So in a moment where we are highly criminalized for how we look, for how we speak, for our accents, estamos aquí para decir que no nos vamos y que pertenecemos. Entonces, les agradecemos muchísimo por estar hoy aquí. Es una conversación muy especial porque para poder hablar de identidad y de Nueva York, se necesita hablar de LUAR y de Raul Lopez. Entonces, estamos muy emocionados. Le quiero agradecer a todos por estar aquí, especialmente a Costume Institute, a todos nuestros curadores que están aquí. Pero sin antes también agradecer a mi equipo, desde Victoria Campa hasta Janelle Thompson y Laura Arique, y también a Dulce, que estás acá, Abreu, por hacer la conexión también con el Met. Y sin antes pasarlo a Victoria, que hará la introducción de hoy. Again, thank you so much for welcoming us. At moments you'll understand, at moments you won't, and that's okay. We're all going to sit in that discomfort together. After that, we're going to have a reception and we'll talk about it and we'll enjoy it all together. So thank you so much for picking the Met tonight to spend your night with us. Victoria.
Welcome everybody. Hola a todos y a todas. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y acompañarnos en una noche tan especial. Yo me llamo Victoria Campa y trabajo en el equipo de educación aquí en el Met, específicamente llevando programación que no es en inglés. Entonces, por ejemplo, 2 veces al mes invitamos a expertos a hablar de objetos en nuestras galerías y eso es parte de nuestra programación que se llama Met Expert Talks en español. Y este programa empezó hace 1 año y ha sido mi gran placer ver cómo ha crecido y cómo ha expandido y cómo ha encontrado su propia audiencia. Así que muchas gracias si han estado aquí antes y si no, 2 veces al mes hacemos esas charlas en la galería. Hoy es un momento histórico para el museo porque es nuestra charla más grande que hemos tenido, como dijo Marty, en Spanglish, en español. Así que muchas gracias por estar aquí hoy. Es un récord para el museo y esperamos que este sea el primero de muchos en el futuro. Me gustaría primero agradecer a Heidi Holder, Chair of Education, por todo su apoyo con nuestra programación diversa y también a Monica Miller, Curator of Superfine, Tailoring Black Fashion, and the whole Costume Institute for making... Thank you. Thank you for all of your support with this program and for making the exhibition accessible to all. We really want to thank also los demás departamentos del museo que nos apoyan y hacen que estos sueños sean realidad, ¿no? Todo el apoyo de todos los equipos de un museo tan grande como este que hace que algo así funcione. Y sobre todo gracias a Marty Preciado, que es el corazón y el alma detrás de todos estos programas. Yeah. La exhibición estará abierta hasta el 26 de octubre, así que esperemos, si no han tenido la oportunidad, que puedan ir a verla. Y ahora, la razón por la cual estamos todos aquí, me gustaría y tengo el gran honor de presentar a Raul Lopez y a Elena Romero, que van a estar en conversación sobre la moda, sobre el arte y la exhibición de Superfine. Entonces, Elena Romero es una periodista galardona, autora y experta en moda. Actualmente es subdirectora y profesora de comunicaciones de mercadeo en la escuela de Jay y Patty Baker de FIT, donde recientemente fue co-curadora de la exhibición Fresh Fly Fabulous, 50 Years of Hip Hop Style en el Museo de FIT. Raúl López es el diseñador afincado en Brooklyn detrás de LUAR, una marca aclamada por la crítica que fusiona la herencia dominicana, el estilo urbano neoyorquino y el comentario social, ofreciendo una propuesta de lujo accesible. Ha ganado el premio CFDA en 2 ocasiones y ha sido finalista del premio LVMH. Su trabajo ha redefinido la moda estadounidense con diseños profundamente inspirados por la experiencia de crecer y vivir en Nueva York. Y con eso Les dejo con Raúl y Elena Romero. Esperemos que disfruten mucho la conversación y que nos acompañen después para una pequeña recepción.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As mentioned, this conversation will go between English and Spanish, and then however comfortable Raul feels, he can kind of dictate where we're going with that. All right? All right, so, Raul, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí esta noche. So let's start with your first impressions of Superfine. And how did you get involved with the exhibit?
Superfine. I think for me, I've always been obsessed with dandyism. I mean, me as a person myself, I like to dress up to make myself up and feel a specific type of way. And being born and raised in Brooklyn and in New York, I mean, for me, I think Black culture played a major part in who I am as a person and the way I dress and the way I carry myself. And historically, you know, we've had all these versions of dandies. But for me, it was just kind of like, okay, I feel seen for once in a way, like, not for the color, but for what it stood for and what it was and what it is. And growing up in New York, it was just seeing like, you know, the drug dealers on the block dressed up and looking really iconic and really fab, but also seeing my family members and everyone, in Brooklyn kind of dressing up in this like urban dystopia, but still looking like we say fab. Like they made themselves look good with what they had. And to me, that was already a form of like dandyism. Like these dudes just wanted to just flex on everybody and show them their new sneakers and what they were wearing, and it was like what was like the new look that was on in trend. And for me, it started with sweatsuits, and sweatsuits, like gray sweatsuits and Timberlands, were a very big part of me in New York. And when I did the exhibit this year, I wanted to obviously show the tailoring, because in Dominican culture, tailoring is a very big part of the culture. But also, sweatsuits to me was also a form of, looking fly and looking fab. So when I did the looks, I was really looking into Black Tudors and Black Saints that to me really looked and felt like original dandies who were really flamboyant in their looks in a different era. But I wanted to bring it to a modern day where, they were like Mayala had on this like gray dress where she looked like a Black saint, but it was in a gray color that it was a heather gray that was reminiscent to the sweatsuit, but also reminiscent to the Tudor era. So I kind of wanted to respect that whole like influence that I got from those. But yeah, I think for me, it was really important to be part of this whole exhibit because of all the amazing artists and all the amazing people who actually are dandies and who actually design for people who want to feel empowered and look fab when they walk out of their homes. And it felt really true to who I was and true to my brand. Like when you wear LUAR, I always say it's to make you feel empowered and be looked at when you walk in. But yeah.
Háblanos un poquito más sobre la sastrería dominicana. Háblanos un poquito más detalle de eso.
Bueno, la sastrería dominicana desde niño siempre ha sido como impactado en mi vida, como mi mamá y mi familia siempre ha trabajado en fábricas, y no nada más la familia mía, pero en la República Dominicana es una de las artesanías más viejas de allá, que ha sido tailoring. Y yo quería incorporar eso, y siempre lo he incorporado con la colección mía, porque sé que es un método de diseño que siempre han sido influenciado por ello, pero también influenciado por el europeo, porque si tú vas para atrás y tú ves que el que el colonizer cuando vino a la República Dominicana, trajeron esa influencia. Esa influencia no estaba ahí. So, tú también tienes que pararte para atrás y mirar y decir, oh, okay, like this comes from tailoring comes from colonization because this is not an influence that we had as indigenous or Afro. Like we weren't dressing like that. So the tailoring came from them having to work for them and creating these looks for them in Dominican Republic. So they learned this trait of like mastering tailoring. And fast forward, it's a major influence in my design because of, kind of paying respect back to all these people who were seamstresses and tailors of those eras and kind of paying it forward towards them and giving them their flowers. So I think it plays a major part in el diseño mío y como yo como diseñador me identifico como un tailor.
The Dominican identity is complex and yet contradictory when it comes to its relationship with Blackness. How do you define Black style, and how does your own Dominican heritage intersect with the broader narrative?
Well, I think that's a very good conversation to have. I think people need to understand that Black culture has played a major part in the way everyone dresses, even white culture. I mean, if you see 80% of brands, they're inspired by us, and especially Black culture. Black culture has always been the ones to move music, fashion, art, and all these different like categories that, it not to be sitting in the mat and to be having to talk about this in the modern day where we know that obviously a lot of the influence for like postmodern like designs comes from our neighborhoods. And I mean, these designers who are in Europe didn't grow up in these areas. These silhouettes, these cuts, these like shapes and prints and logos, this all comes from cultures like that we grew up in. And I feel like with Dominican culture, I think they also have to understand that yes, we are rooted in we've had like obviously colonization, but we also have had our own roots in like Afro and indigenous. And it takes you trying to step back and looking at what has been done, but like making it to present time and like enjoying what has been done, but like making it our own. Like what we did with this collection was like really tapping into that whole era of like Dominican Republic was the first place to be colonized in the whole entire Western Hemisphere. It was the first place to have carnival. It was the first place to have a church, a school. It was one of the first places that, not one of, but it was the first place to be colonized. And I think it all comes from colonization, the eradicating of Black culture. I've been doing these like anthropology classes in Dominican Republic where it's like also like the first freed enslaved African Americans came to the Dominican Republic. I was intrigued by why do these people have all these American black names, these American white names, and they're black, and they all came to Samana. And then I started doing this deep dive, and then I met this doctor, and she's an anthropologist, and I've been talking to her for like 3 years now, and she's written books. I met her through some friends in Dominican Republic, but she's been doing this for 50 years, and it's about the fact why Dominicans are so opposed to Black culture and their Black roots. And for me, with the collections and me as a designer, I think it's important for me to tell people just because I'm Dominican doesn't mean that I can't talk about my Black roots because it's there. If you do an ancestral, I mean, I'm not white with blue eyes. I obviously know this. I'm not blonde. I know what I look like when I look at myself in the mirror. My color comes from somewhere. I'm proud to be someone who's Afro Indigenous and someone who really appreciates his roots. I'm a big like supporter of that. And I've always been because since I was a kid, I mean, even people would be like, oh, you think you're Black? And I'm like, I don't think I'm Black. I just appreciate it. And I love what they do. I mean, I grew up around it, and this is what I've seen my whole entire life. I've only assimilated to what I've seen. It's like if you're in a white town and they're teaching you whatever they are, like Christianity or whatever these radicals are doing, you are learning it. So for me, it was that's what I learned. It was being on the block with everyone with their 5411 Reeboks and like the door knockers and the buns and the hair and the hairstyles and the thing. And if you see like my collection, a lot of it is reminiscent to that era, but making it more modern. I don't like to hit it on the nail. I always say that, but Black culture and Dominican usually it's and not only with Dominican Republic, but I think with Latinos and everyone in general. I feel like they need to also step back and see like you're really influenced by it. Just say it. It's okay. It's not that bad. It's not that serious. Like we all are. Everybody's influenced by Black culture. You listen to the music, you want to dress like them, you want to act like them, you say their isms, you do everything that they do, but yet you don't want to identify with them. That's a
Tenemos la
problem.
abuela negra.
Claro, porque es así. I'm not afraid. I knew when I woke up every day, I know what I look like. I know who I am. I know what I've always stood for. I've been like that since I was a kid. I didn't have to wait for like radical movements or anything. I knew I wasn't like them. And I knew that I wanted to be this person that I am today. And I've always been truthfully and unapologetically me. And I don't care if some people be like, oh, you're so this, you're so that, like you're so New York, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm still more academically smarter than you, and you went to school. It's where like the whole term of like premium trash is like this whole term that I use. Like people always like, oh, why do you say that? And I'm like, it's not, I'm not saying it to make myself look bad. It's just because I know that you, when you perceive me, you see me as a specific person because the way I dress, my isms, the way I talk, the way I carry myself, how flamboyant, how dandy I am. You're like, right away, I get all the strikes. But as soon as I open my mouth and then I talk to you, then you're like, oh.
And you show your sales.
And then I show my taste, then they die, you know? So it's like, I might look trashy, but I'm very premium, you know? I've sat with billionaires, white billionaires and everybody. I'm like, listen, you might have more money than me, but I have better taste than you, you know? And they're like, I'm like, it is what it is, and that's just reality. It's just like just because you have money don't think that I don't have better taste than you, and I'm not as knowledgeable as you are. I'm like, I might have not went to college. Might have not went to like all these Ivy League schools, but I could go toe to toe with you, and I bet you I know more than you know, and that I know for a fact.
La sastrería es central en esta exposición. ¿Qué significa la sastrería para ti? No solamente en tu trabajo, pero en tu cultura y emocionalmente.
Para mí la sastrería es como un lenguaje. Yo siempre me he sentido como que tailoring siempre ha sido como un lenguaje que siempre ha estado conmigo. Desde niño siempre me ha gustado un traje, siempre me ha gustado una corbata, siempre me ha gustado como expresarme con suiting. That was like my thing. A mí me llamaban chalinita, which means like little tie. Because since I was a kid, when I was going to elementary school or for years later, I always wanted to wear a tie or a suit. So suiting has always been a major fact in my life, and it plays a major part in like my design process and what it stands for. I feel like a beautiful suit can talk so much volume when you walk into a space, and it's creating something that just looks really beautiful. And tailoring is not just a suit. Tailoring could be a dress. It's just making it fit well and look good and expressing how you feel with like even through like seam lines or like buttons or just little intricate pieces that it carries. For me is really important to like express that through my garments. And I think tailoring is a major part of like my design process and draping, because obviously I'm not classically trained. So my form of making garments is on a draping on a body because that's all I had. I had my cousins, I had like my friends, I had myself, and I was just making things on people. So for me, it's all about tailoring on the body. And that plays a major part because obviously growing up and the first form of like factories were just Dominican tailors that I had. Like when I first started my brand, when I left Hood by Air, even with Hood by Air, we were making everything in the tailors, Dominican tailors in the Lower East Side. Like we had the tailors, we didn't know what a factory was. I mean, we were both two Brooklyn kids who didn't go to college and we were just like figuring it out for ourselves, and tailoring was the first place that we figured out, okay, we have this. Like we know how to play with wool. We know how to make something look really fab and expensive, but yet make it feel approachable through a lens that isn't really what you think it is. Like because it looked crazy, but it was tailored so well, you were like, oh shit, like this is really nice. Like this is really well made. But it was just because of the Dominican tailors, and that's all I knew. So I have to pay respect to a lot of the Dominican influence that comes from the tailoring because again, like I said, it comes all through the whole colonization bloodline and pipeline that they are such masters in it. It's not just Italians, it's not all these people. I think it's just this form of this is what they feed everybody and this is what they tell you. And I'm not saying that they're not great, they're amazing, but Dominican tailors are also amazing. Everybody in here has probably been to a Dominican tailor once in their life. In the Lower East Side, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. It doesn't matter. You've been to one once upon a time.
Qué honor participar en esta gran exhibición. Vamos a hablar un poco sobre el vestuario que se encuentra en esta exposición. ¿Cómo se encontró? Talk to me a little bit about the specific design that you have in this exhibition.
Okay. So I know it looks a little simple. I don't know if we could pull it up. But the shape and the silhouette of this suit was to mimic myself, the shape of the boulder shoulder and this like pinstripe suit. My family used to do all these family reunions every month in somebody's home. So there will be like, okay, this month is in Gladys's house, this month is in Socorro's house, this month is in so and so's house. So everybody would dress up and want to feel fab. And it was like 60 people in a small apartment. All the kids are like thrown on top of the clothes or on piles of something, but all the parents were kind of rejoicing and having a great time. And I would sit on the sofa because obviously I was gay and obviously I was trying to hide because they always had somebody with the camera, with a big camcorder just recording, and I didn't want to be seen. So I would sink myself down so like my shoulders could come up and they wouldn't catch me on camera. So if you see the silhouette of the actual suit, the boulder shoulder, the suit comes up and the neck goes down. It was kind of a play on that when I used to sit on the sofa and watch everybody, and I didn't want to get caught or seen on camera because obviously my voice was high and pitched. Obviously, I was definitely flamboyant. I only hung out with the girls. And as soon as the camera would come around, I would kind of scrunch down and like hide myself. But yeah, I wanted to kind of like reclaim that and really make it my own and really tell the story of kind of like the resilience and how fab you can feel and like having these like extraordinary shoulders just popping out and just making you feel more empowered instead of just kind of sinking in and just kind of hiding. I wanted that when you wear this suit, you walk in and you're like a son walking into a room full of snow and everybody's like, whoa, melting and just like, damn, this is a power suit. Like this looks good. But yeah, it looks like a very casual suit, but it has a lot of meaning to it. It's a beautiful pinstripe double-breasted suit that I kind of really wanted to show. I didn't want to show like all my craziness because I feel like obviously I know how to do that, but I also wanted to show like how you can be dandy and just be impactful without having to have all the like dressing up and like all the sequin or or the feathers or the this and the that. And yeah, sorry, I'm just like going, but
So, speaking of power, LUAR has grown from a niche brand into a fashion powerhouse. Can you take us back to your early days? What motivated you to start your label? a little bit about your background, being from Brooklyn, being Dominican, and how that shaped your early DNA.
I mean, I think for me with Luar, I really wanted to create a space for people who look like me. I think growing up in New York, I was very tainted and really not ashamed. I was kind of upset because obviously I was always in fashion. Like since I was a kid, I always been into it. But I knew there wasn't people that looked like me or people. There was only like two or three designers and that were black, and you know they got their glory, and then it was like why was it just because of the color or was it because of their talent? Like what was it? Like, you have like a Patrick Kelly, like who's iconic and who also went to like the Battle of Versailles and was probably one of the most iconic shows. And this this designer was just like, whoa, like even for me, like I don't really use color, but to me, he was such a genius designer because in this era, in this space where he wasn't even allowed, he was making clothing that a lot of them weren't even making, that he stood out from all of them. So I take that also like a blueprint for myself where I'm just like, I want to create things like obviously like I don't make always the most conventional garments, but everyone references didn't either, right? So it's like, do I hold myself back or do I just keep telling my story? And for me, all my collections are just like the story that I'm trying to tell. And I've always wanted to like, I always say I'm like the YMCA of fashion, where like everyone is welcome, but like don't disrespect anyone. I grew up going to PAL and like all these like institutions and like community like centers, and for me, that was so important for myself just to see other people who weren't just Latino and who were Black and seeing what they were wearing and the way they were carrying themselves, the mannerisms, the styling, the hair, the makeup. Because obviously, yes, I grew up in South Williamsburg, I grew up in Los Sures, but it was predominantly Puerto Rican. So Puerto Rican I knew. So I was like, that I got on Smash. Like the Puerto Ricans I already knew. And I was Dominican, but we didn't really have Dominican families around there because it was predominantly Puerto Rican, Black, or Jewish, like Hasidic Jewish. So it was just like, okay, like, what is it that I'm not getting that I already know? And obviously it was Black culture. Black culture always, I was just like, this feels more me. Like I love what they're wearing, but I was always more attracted to that than I was to my own culture because they also took me in when, like, and not to be shady, like Latinos didn't really take me in growing up. It was like a thing. It was like I was known as the like they would say the cha cha with all the Black girls. Like they would be like, oh, that's Raul. He hangs out only with the Black girls. And it wasn't that. It was just like they didn't really accept me. They would make fun of me. They would bully me. They would laugh at me. But the Black girls was like, oh, you look fat, bitch. Like, like you look good. Like it was like I had my bust down. Like my hair was really long. I had like the Dior glasses with the Coogee dress and like a speedy bag and like it was I was giving that, and like for them it was like, whoa, you're doing too much. But everybody else, when like I went to like Christopher Street when I was like 16, Black culture and ballroom was like, you fab, like you're fab, like whoa, like you get it. And I was like, I was in my looks. But as I started kind of growing up and then I left school in Brooklyn, I was going to like an all boys trade school, which was automotive high school, because I was a badass. So that no one wanted to take me in. And this all comes from just me being gay and not, I was being really rebellious. I didn't really care for school because I already knew what I wanted to do. So I was going to these spaces and I didn't want to be there. And then I went to Flushing High School. And that's when I kind of started seeing different cultures and then absorbing that and then really creating the LUAR world and the LUAR language, which is what it is now. So I always say like LUAR is a space for everyone as long as there's respect.
Has mencionado antes que el lugar representa a Raúl al revés. The act of reversal is powerful. Was that intentional in terms of flipping narratives and rewriting the fashion codes? Loaded.
I mean, that's a good question, but also it's fake. Because it's like,
Dique.
Dique, no, es, porque cuando yo creé el nombre, I was on AOL. That was my AOL name. And this is when I was in the chat rooms. It was like Harlem meant for man. It was like all these like chat rooms that I was like trying, and like my name was the LUAR Clothing 11211. And but then it kind of like, and then I would lie and be like, oh yeah, I'm a model. And I was like, I'm 16 talking to like guys that were like 20. It was just like this era. And I was like, but it was also a gateway to actually find out who I really was. And then the reversal actually was a reflection of myself. I did not really know. So LUAR Clothing, which was my first brand, after I left HBA, was like, I really want to find my actual true self. Like, I want to find my roots. I really want to go in depth into who I really am and the story I really want to tell. So when I started digging in, I was like, wait, oh my God, this is crazy. So I moved to the Dominican Republic for like 6-7 years, and I was just doing my clothing from there, working with tailors in the Dominican Republic. And that's how I actually first started. So it was just kind of like a reflection of like the diaspora and DR. And I felt like New York was Raul, and then the Dominican Republic was LUAR. So it was just like this like mirror reflection, because I was like, I really love it there, and I really identify with everything. I know I'm ratchet. I know I'm crazy. I know I love fashion. They love all this stuff. I'm resourceful. They're resourceful. They know how to make something out of nothing. Like, they're shopping in thrift stores and like all these like flea markets and taking it to the tailors and reworking it and making a fab look that they probably saw online. So it was just like this like reflection really worked into like my design process, because it is a reflection of myself. It is who I am. I am my own muse. I always tell people that. Like, I design for myself. Sorry. I'm like, my team knows this, everyone knows this. I always say, I'm like, I am my own muse. If I can't wear it, it's not fab. You know what I mean? Like, but then I really started honing into that I was just like, someone was like, you are your own muse. Like, you really just design, like, you're always so ahead of yourself. And you always, sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because you're a little too ahead and people are not getting it because you're not making all the logo tees and you're not making all the baggy sweatsuits and like all the stuff that's trending right now. But if I did that, then I would kind of just turn away from my reflection, right? I'm not really looking at who I really am. And who I really am is this, I am an exact representation of who I am and my brand. So yeah, so
Time is flying. I'm going to ask you one question, then
Yeah.
I'm going to open it up to the floor, and then when we close, I'll have a closing last remark from you,
Okay.
okay? So this exhibition touches on the historical side of tailoring in the Black culture as well as the Black diaspora, from Sunday's best to suits. So do you see LUAR as contributing to that lineage? ¿Cómo diseñadores latinos pueden contribuir a la historia afrolatinidad cuando se toca de la moda?
I mean, me contributing to African Latino roots, I'm like, that's who I am. So it's not really, I am already part of the lexicon and part of the whole diaspora movement of moving this whole thing. I mean, even like I said, like even with my Met Gala looks, everybody went for the obvious, which is fine. And I'm not trying, I like to dig deeper. And I was like, these people who existed in the 15, 16, 1700s didn't get their flowers. And they were amazing, beautiful Black saints and beautiful Black tutors whose names have been eradicated and they don't even get the shine that they deserve. I was like, I want to do that. Like, I know how to be a dandy. If I want, I know how to make it hot. I can dress up. Like, I mean, I'm a viral meme for being like, like I know what it is to be, someone who like stands out. Like I've always been that person. I dress up to make people uncomfortable and to make them look at me. That was the whole point. The reason why I dressed the way I did and the way I design is so people, when you walk into a space, they're like, "Oh shit, what is this?" And have a conversation about it, you know? But I think with like the whole exhibit, I really was so, you know, at first I was like, well, about goddamn time, you know, but I was just like, I get it and I know how it is, but I really appreciated being part of this because I am someone who actually really appreciates Black culture, my Black roots, and the Black movement of fashion. Because without them, there wouldn't be a lot of these aesthetics that people wear today. It's and it's true. And I think it was about time that you see us being put on a pedestal and be presented in a space that is historically white and historically European, to have us in a space that doesn't exist for us. It's actually really beautiful. And I really was so, I was blown away. I was like, oh, I'm doing this. I was like, hell yes. I was like, because I was asked before to do it, but I didn't want to be, and I'm just gonna be honest, and we're here. And I didn't want to do it because, all these radical movements were happening. And I was like, I'm not gonna give my look up because BLM is happening and all these things. For me, I was like, I'm gonna get invited when I deserve to get invited and when it makes sense to me, because I'm not gonna do it as a favor for you. You know what I mean? And that for me was like to say no to an institution that has historically, it's been what it is. And it's an amazing institution that has the craziest archive in the world. But for me, I was just like, I don't know if I want to give this up just because this is happening right now. I'm not that girl and I've never been that girl. Like, I've always been real, I've always been true. And I'm not going to let you just clout chase off of what's happening right now and then be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to give it to you. And then I was just kind of like, I'm sorry if anybody's in here that works for the Met, but like, I was just like, I was just kind of like, and it's honest and it's true. And anybody who was in my position would have done it too as well. You know what I mean? If you're really about the, I'm sorry, excuse my language. If you're really about the shits, you know what's up. I've always been a person who's always, before any of this, I've always to this day, if you come to my office, if you come into any of my spaces, everyone knows how I am and how radical I am. I might not be vocal about it, but you will feel it. And that's what LUAR does. LUAR will eradicate that whole entire sentiment of the BS and will really reprogram you to really think about how society really looks at us. And that's my job. My job is to educate you, re-educate you into what exactly you need to be thinking and not they're feeding you, And that was why I didn't do it before. It was just kind of like that was my form of like protesting. I was like, no.
Well, thank
Sorry.
you for your authentic self.
Yeah, I don't know how to not be myself. I'm sorry.
And for the record, if anyone was unsure, Black fashion is American fashion.
It sure is. Exactly. Like, even down to all the monogramming and all that stuff. Like, if it wasn't for us, you think, I mean, why you think they got the Dapper Dans and they got all these people to come back in and all these stylists and all these figures? Because you know what's up. We had to bootleg it so that you can believe in it. And then now you want it. And now you're mimicking it. So it's like, make it make sense.
On that note, we're going to open up the floor for questions. Is there someone with a microphone?
Hi, my name is Lanice. I go to FIT. I'm an FBM major, but I also design things. I wanted to ask you, like, what is your process when you make your collections? Like, what are your thoughts, and like, how do you?
Well, for me, it's very different. And I'm pretty sure for a lot of people, they have their own process. Everyone has their own process. But for me, it's weird and it's strange, but I actually have to go to Dominican Republic and I like ride around in my car or I just kind of like get away from the New York City like noise and immerse myself where I can like kind of peel away from like the facade and this whole world. And I just ride around. I mean, I could just be in the hood and like something just hits me. I'm like I had a collection called Socorro, which is my mom's name, but also means help. And I'm sitting in a car in the neighborhood where one of my friends lives, and it is like one of the most devastating areas to even look at because it's so sad how poor these people are, but they're having so much fun and rejoicing in what they have, but they own what they have, which is what's so crazy for me. I was just like, I sit there and I'm like, Americans talk so much, even the diaspora and like Dominicans talk so much about these Dominicans, but I'm like, you're on Section 8, you don't own your apartment. These people own their actual and nothing against it because baby, I wish we was dying to get the Section 8, but we were the super. We were the super, so we didn't have to pay rent. But it was just kind of like for me sitting there in this car and having these, it was like a church outside on the street and they're like screaming, like, talking in tongues and speaking to all the like pilgrimage that's there sitting. But on the right hand side, you have all these people drinking and turning up at the same time. And I was like, I was sitting in my car and I literally started crying and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I feel like it's them calling them and like asking them, do they need help? And it just became this whole thing in my head, which is like where the process comes from. And it's just like, it's more of I don't really ever, I'm not the type of person to sit here and be like, I'm inspired by flowers or I'm inspired by like, and that's just not my process because I'm a kid from born and raised in New York and the streets were my school. I had to see people, what they were wearing, how they move in it, how they would act when they were wearing clothing. And that is exactly how I do my process. Like when we drape in the office, we'll have a model come in and we'll like take a bunch of vintage garments and chop them up and build it up and then put it on a model to walk around to see how it moves. I don't sketch. So for me, it's like that's my form of doing my process. And I don't look for it. It has to hit me first. So I have to like pause, get away from everything and just like submerge myself in like these like neighborhoods and these areas where it really feel beautiful to me and people who actually mean stuff to me where they're not looking at me as a designer, they're looking at me as this persona who they're like, oh, he looks crazy, he dresses nuts, but like that to me is more beautiful. They love it and I love that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's more about like just letting it come to you. Your process should be your own process, but don't force it. If you don't see it and you're not feeling it, don't do it. Like also don't push it because they're pushing it on you.
Good advice.
Cause trust me, I get pushed. And I'm like, not yet.
Oh, sorry. Buenas noches. Good evening. My name is Carrie, and I'm a fashion lifestyle content creator all the way from Philadelphia.
Yes, Philly in the house.
um, Felicidades. Gracias
Gracias.
por representarnos a los dominico americanos. And this is from the backside. A veces we see the fame, los logros, the opportunities. But as a follower of yours, I saw you recently took a social media break. Y en este mundo que está tan difícil ahora, I wanted to ask you, as a Dominican designer navigating the fast pace and sometimes overwhelming world of fashion, how do you take care of your mental health while still nurturing your creativity in our society that sometimes it's a taboo to talk about?
Mm. Well, I think that's when you have to understand. I took a mental break in 2019. I had hit rock bottom and I literally was up in flames because I was just doing show after show after show. And obviously, coming from these neighborhoods, they train you to be like, no, you got to keep going. Like, depression is fake, like the whole thing. And and then I was the one also doing that to my friends who were designers or artists. I was like, girl, get over it. Like, depression is not, like, stop. Like, you're being a baby. But I didn't actually know that I was actually depressed and I had anxiety. And when I went and I took myself away from New York and put myself in a space where it wasn't all the noise, I figured out that actually I had a mental illness. I was going crazy. I was medicating myself with Xanax. I didn't even know this, that I was, because I was like, I don't do drugs. I barely, like, I drink, but I'm just taking this to go to bed so I can sleep at night. So, because my friend was like, "Oh, you could take this and like you'll sleep like good. Just take a quarter." And obviously, I didn't know that I was actually addicted. And this is like when this whole like opioid thing, and then I saw this whole thing. I was like, "Oh my god, that's me!" I was like, I'm going crazy. And I figured it out when I was in Japan because I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't even want to see my friends. I'm in Japan. I go every year. I'm here doing a pop up. I should be so proud of myself. And then I removed myself from like this area that everybody was in. And I was like, I'm out. And I like moved to like the Jackson Heights of like Tokyo. I don't know. It was like really far. And then I drove myself nuts, came back, and I remember going to my sister's house and I literally was having withdrawals. And I didn't even know this because I was like, always like, oh, I've never done drugs and like the whole thing. And then I saw the whole opioid thing and I was like, oh my God, this is me. I was like, I'm really driving myself nuts. So then I took a break. And when I took the break in the Cayman Islands, I was like, oh my God, like I really need to figure this out. Like, why am I letting this hamster wheel really drive me crazy? Why is it that I feel compelled to keep going when I don't need to? Because this whole out of sight, out of mind thing has gone already. Like, you have Instagram. So as soon as you post, you're gone in like 1 second. So as anything you post is gone. So I started telling myself that I was like, this whole out of sight, out of mind thing is all fake. So like now I try to do this thing where I just like when I'm ready to go, I'm like, I'm out. Like I'm out, I'm out. Like even from my office, from family, from friends, whoever, I'm just like, I'm leaving. You have to learn to not jump on the hamster wheel. I know as crazy as it sounds and as hard as it sounds, because you feel compelled to be on it, you really don't have to. You can do it all on your own pace and on your own time. No one's gonna forget about you, trust me. Because I left for like 2 years and came back and boom, here we are. It's true. Oh my God.
Hi, my name is Reva. I'm also a student at FIT. So Raul, despite not being from a privileged background and having so many hardships in your career, you've really made your mark in the New York City and American, even international fashion scene. What advice do you have for young creatives who might not come from these privileged backgrounds trying to make their mark in the fashion industry? Thank you.
Mm. I think for me is being truly authentically yourself and really creating something that is you. Don't feed into the hype. Don't feed into what they're telling you. Don't let people be in your ear. If I would have listened to people 20 years ago, I would have probably had not trying to like say anything about you. I probably wouldn't even dress the way I usually dress. Today I tame myself down. I'm looking like, this is like my corporate drag. But I feel like, I feel like once you live your authentic self, people, especially in this era, and especially the kids who are buying or anyone's buying, they're trying to buy your stories. They're trying to buy who you really are and what you're trying to say. I think everyone's so homogenized by what is happening and like asphyxiated with what's happening on like Tumblr Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. I don't know, like the whole thing. I'm only on Instagram. But like it's I mean, I remember like even like Jahan, who's on my team, I went and spoke in Parsons, and this is a school that I didn't even get to go to. I didn't go to any of the like fashion schools. And I remember going to his class, and he always says this. He was like, "Oh, I remember you shitting on everybody in the class because they came with like all this imagery from like Tumblr." As soon as it gets on these platforms, it has been regurgitated 500,000 times around the world. So, what is it that you have to do? Is pay respect to what has come before you. And when you make it your own, you're truly an authentic creative because everything has been done. Everything has been done. Everything that you see that you live for is taking it and giving it your twist. Once you give it your twist and you have your own DNA and your whole language, people will start recognizing it. Also, you don't have to be forced as a designer, as an artist, that you have to make a collection right away. Make one piece a month. And then whenever you feel like you ready to like show it, show it. You live in a different era that I did. So like you can like post a jacket or a shirt or a sweater, whatever you make, and just like really start showing people what you can make and like what you are and who you are. Because where you come from and who you are has nothing to do with your collections. Because just because I came from nothing doesn't mean that I'm not better than you. You know what I mean? Because like I said, like I've been around a lot of major designers, and they're like, you know, I can tell what you made. I know who you are. I know your language. I know your DNA and your aesthetic. Like it's about creating your world. Once you can create your world, people will follow it. You don't need to like really think about it too much because that's the thing. It's that question because you're asking yourself, oh, because if I come from like a low income home, I can design. Well, I didn't go to fashion school. I didn't study it, but I made myself study it. And I was sneaking into oh my God, this FIT and Parsons to go to the libraries. I mean, I looked crazy, so they were like, "Oh yeah," like I was standing in the door and be like, "Hey, I left my ID at home. Can you swipe me?" Like, and like run upstairs and scan the books. But like, don't let that be like the definition of who you really are, because like no one knew that. Only the person who probably swiped me in, and they probably didn't know that now until like present time. Where like I've had people come up to me. They're like, "Oh, I remember when I came back in 2021. Like maybe two or three people. They're like, yo, oh my God, I remember you hanging out outside, and you would literally like have people scan you in." I was like, yeah, because you weren't using the books, and I was. You know, you have it there. Like you have the internet now. Like it's it's it, income doesn't really mean anything. Like if you are creative and if you have talent, and that's it.
Elena, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, because we have a whole champagne reception to go to. Raúl, una cosa, esto es en Nueva York. Maybe just one last question for you before I send you off to celebrate.
Sí.
What does your favorite Sunday in New York look like?
Wow. Damn. That's a good one. Wow, no one's ever asked me that. Well, I mean, theoretically, if I could, because then like Sunday I'm already like crashed out, would be to go to my grandmother's house or to my family's house in the Bronx and just they call it like a lopada because they're all Lopez. And they call it a lopada and they're mad loud. And everybody just hangs out there and everyone's just like louder than everybody. The TV's on all the way up and everyone's talking over the TV and everybody wants to be heard.
What's the food?
Of course. Well, if it's my grandmother's, probably like moro, which is like rice and peas with like it's probably like a meat. Well, she's Seventh-day Adventist, so she no pork. But she'll probably do like chicken or something. Like her oven chicken is the best. Like I asked her like maybe 2 weeks ago because she randomly calls me and I'm like, what is going on? Like, sometimes I get scared because I'm like, they're in their 90s. And I'm like, why is this woman calling me like randomly? But usually I'm in my office and she calls me and I'm like, you owe me a chicken. But I'm probably gonna go over there this weekend because she literally just called me 2 days ago and she's like, I haven't seen you in a long time. So I was like, and my family usually thinks, but yes, an ideal Sunday would be that. If not, I'm just home, just watching reality TV. I love trash TV. I'm sorry. It's like my endorphins go crazy with it. It's like it just it brings me. I love like
I love that. Raul, Elena, thank you so much for this conversation
Thank you
and
so
for
much.
all of you.
Look at us at the Met.
I also want to thank Monica for creating a moment of adding Raul into this exhibition, a moment where we
I
all
know.
felt seen,
Give it up
reflected,
for
and
us, 'cause if it
celebrated.
wasn't
So
for
thank you,
you,
Monica.
none of us would be here. You guys, Billy, Monica, you did your big one. That book, if you haven't read Monica's book, you should go read Monica's book. It is very important in Black culture, in dandyism, in fashion itself, even though it is about Black dandyism, but it is actual fashion culture that has existed and will continue to exist from here on out, which is now on a bigger platform, and people actually get to really experience, your story and everything you've written. And I really appreciate that you really brought me onto this, being Latino in a Black dandyism and someone who identifies as Black indigenous. Was really beautiful for you to have me be part of this, and I was really ecstatic about it. So thank you.
And I think from Monica, something that I carry with me, it's yes, it's about the fashion, but it's about the bodies that inhabit that fashion. So I hope you really think about that and the stories. Raul, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're more than fashion. You're a cultural icon, not only for New York, but everybody across. And I think not only are you inspiration, but you're creating representation, celebration. You honor who we are as a community. And many of us are inspired in this room. Many of us are leaving in this room thinking about what we can do to advance more about our own expression.
100%. And I think
And you
that's the
do that
job.
for us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Elena. Thank you for creating a space of dialogue where we can learn more.
I know, give a round of
And
applause to Elena.
please, for creating the conversation.
Legend. Brooklyn.
We couldn't have done this without the support of Dulcina Abreu, who made the connection to Raul and really Raul, who created this, and to the entire team. Also thanking a lot of Laura, Isa, and Michelle for being the pillars of the work that we do. We're going to celebrate, but before we do, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí, por estar en esta conversación tan linda, Raúl, Elena, gracias por todo lo que nos han dicho desde la moda, las historias, Nueva York. But also just a reminder that the Met continues to be a platform and a space for you to come and just enjoy not only our exhibitions, but to be in dialogue with one another.
100%.
And thank you. And
I was here on Monday.
with Michelle.
I was going through the archives.
And I'll say it very loud and very proud in a moment where, it doesn't feel that comfortable to be ourselves, to speak who we are, to be who we are, to look how we are, to hold this space to one another. Please meet one another tonight. Have some champagne, enjoy, get to know one another, because the only way we will survive will be in community. And that's the only way for us to thrive. And I thank you so much for being here. I want to thank everybody from Sage, who was our event producer, to your team, from Kayla to Jonathan, who were here from all along, at Henny's, Elena, to all of our friends, Dulce, Victoria, Janelle, everybody, Devin, Antoinette, for giving our tours tonight. The exhibition is still open through October, so I hope you can come back. And remember that we are free for New Yorker, and so please come and get your free tickets so you can enjoy the exhibition. We're going to go into a reception, so I hope you can enjoy some drinks. And then also some questions for Raul, and maybe some pictures, or maybe some hugs, or maybe some dancing together.
Yeah.
Raul, Elena, before we part, anything that you would like to add? Oh, one last question.
Not the
Final
trivial.
thoughts.
Okay, girl. Not throwing the.
I'll ask it in English and Spanish, totally up to you.
Dale como tú quieras, mi amor. Yo lo hablo como tú quieras. I just didn't talk Spanish because, Dominican Spanish is a little too fast.
Ay, me
but,
gusta, ay, me gusta.
mi amor, puedo hablar como tú quieras, inglés o español.
Está bien.
Because the girls might think I don't know Spanish, but I know. I'm bilingual.
¿Cómo espera la gente salir de aquí después que vieron a Superfine? ¿Qué deberían llevarse con ellos sobre el estilo negro y su llegado al oficio? Poder y innovación. How do you hope people to leave the Superfine exhibit? What should they carry forward about Black style and its legacy of craft, power, and innovation?
I mean, do you really want me to go there?
Go there.
My team hears it all the time. No, it's just for me, it's just like I said, for me, Black culture and Black dandyism has always played a major part in who I am. But I think if we really are someone or people who want to feel in community, appreciating what has already been done and who has done it, it takes big cojones to really appreciate what these people have actually contributed to fashion, not just dandyism, to everything universally, music, fashion, clothing, everything. It's like arts. It's like it's a for me it's bigger than what this is, because for me it's like what Monica did with storytelling about all these amazing figures really resonates with me and should resonate with everyone. Because if you really think about it, it is what it is, and they did it, and they've been doing it. So it's like real needs to recognize real. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, for me, it's like everyone in here takes some inspiration from Black culture. And it's true. It's like you cannot deny that. Through anything, through color, through shapes, through silhouettes, through the way they carry themselves, their mannerisms, their isms, the way they just like exude like excellence. It's like, for me, I've always been like in awe from like the guys and the women going to church on Sundays. I was just like, whoa, what the, like, because like the Latinos weren't like, the Dominicans weren't like, they'll wear a look, but the Black grannies and the uncles and the aunts, I was like, damn. I was like, this is how you actually do it. I was like, this is fab. But it's just like, know your surroundings and know exactly what it is. And it's like respecting. It's like you need to respect what has come. You might not agree with it. And not everybody has to agree with everybody. But you need to know and recognize what it is. And it is what it is. It has always been here. And it's always going to be here. And it's going to continue to be here. So you need to suck it up and just go with the flow. Because I mean, this is a conversation that I get a little heated about. I'm already getting hot, so I just don't want to like. I don't want to get there. So maybe a little champagne, because my team knows how I am, and they already know what's coming, and my mouth is gonna get a little wild, and the corporate girl is clocking out. So.
I think that's a call for champagne.
That's a call for
Gracias
champagne.
a todos. Nos vemos afuera. Gracias. Un aplauso.